which is good for us because we're obviously quite environmental. Do you mind if I say we? Is that okay? And so we've definitely got a good chance of basically filling that gap that the Greens would normally fill there, because there'll be no one else environmental to vote for. Not that the Greens do that much for the environment on Central Coast, sorry. But it's more our group most of the time doing the heavy lifting.
I think that I'm pretty much the same as Sarah. The reason why I'm running is because I've always been somebody who, well, lately, who doesn't want to complain about something and say, oh, that should be done better, why aren't they doing that better, or that shit, without me actually thinking, oh, well, why don't you do something about it? And, I really like that saying of, what can, don't ask what your council can do for you, but what you can do for your council. And I think, I really like the idea of local council being the closest level of council to the actual community. Council is just it's been atrocious at the way they've treated the public. Sometimes the meetings went really late at night, and we need people that care about the coast, but we need all different sorts of people on the council, but people that can get along with each other is a really good thing, and that's one thing that that I feel like I can do, is I can get along with most people. So, and I think that what we want to do is focus on what's good for the coast. And the other thing that has been one of the motivating things for me to run for council is that we've just been, I'm not going to say treated like mushrooms, do you know what I mean? But pretty much, and it's just, there's just so much spin with our council, we're doing this, and if you look at their website, it looks all great, and we're doing fantastic things for the environment and for the community, and we're consulting all over the place, but it's all been pretty much like this tick box consultation where, we've listened to the community, then we've gone ahead and done what we wanted to do anyway. So, we want to end to that sort of bullshit. Keep in the dark and fetch.
I got you, so it took me a while to get on for that one. So, what can people do on a practical level to support Coasties Who Care?
Coming tonight is a huge, big thing, and I really appreciate everyone coming tonight, because that, obviously you could be doing lots of other things, and for you to come tonight makes a big difference. And that's the thing, a lot of people say, oh, what can we do to help? Coming to something like this to show that you care, it makes a really big difference. And also, obviously, use the local Aboriginal Land Council to, be as a Trojan horse to desecrate cultural places and bushland. And we're saying, even though that's not a council issue, council does have a say in this. Council can be a force to be reckoned with when it comes to the Central Coast and to our bushland and our children's futures.
Well, council is so the council's the biggest private landowner on the Central Coast. Save our gums, fix our slums.
Fix our slums.
So I'll be quiet.
No, that's all right. No, I've learned a lot from you, Jake. But there are a lot of, as Jake said, the council are the biggest landowner on the Central Coast, with Darkinjung Land Council right behind them. But we do own, and the council's land is our land. It is our council, it's our community land. And unfortunately, over the last 4 years in particular, a lot of our land has been sold off. A lot of our community land has been rezoned so that it can be pretty much sold off. And sometimes for not that much. There's some land at the entrance just recently that was sold for $1. And it makes you question what the motivations are for that. But the council could play a really big part in supporting community organisations that are doing great things in our community for our elderly and for our disabled and for our youth. For example, like what you're talking about with Coast Shelter, by providing cheap rent, but also for housing. And I've got to say, with housing anyway, there's 10% of the houses on the Central Coast that no one lives in, no one's in there, and they're saying, well, we've got a housing crisis. Well, there are other ways to solve the crisis rather than bulldoze bushland. Where,
do you mind if I say we again? I'm preferencing nobody, unless we get something rock solid for the community. Because in the start, when we're writing out the policies, often what happens is the candidates say, if I'm elected, I'll do this, I'll do that. If I'm elected, I'll do this and that. This group are able to say whether we're elected or not, we will continue.
You just asked me to remind you, we've got a raffle. Because one of the reasons we're having tonight, besides the fact that we really wanted to let you know why we're standing. And I think it's like we're going to different forums on the coast and everything where other candidates are standing. And yes, we're being asked really hard questions, and sometimes we haven't got the answers to all of them. Space system, land on the Central Coast, And yeah, even though we love the environment and we want to see more green spaces, we also know that there's got to be development. We want industry, we want our kids to have jobs, but we want it to be done in like a balanced way.
Just as an example of where we're at and what the community is actually being consulted with, does anyone here have an idea of the referendum that is occurring and what that means for the Central Coast? Did you know that we're also voting in a referendum at the election? No. You didn't know about that? Okay, so Rick Hart, who has a background in agriculture and botany, this is a huge issue that will reduce children's voices in the future.
I think that that's what's really important, and that's why we are saying, vote away from the major parties.
There's been at least a couple of dozen people going for a run down there. A fella and his wife were down there with their dog.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
We know the dogs, the cats. They've completely barricaded them off. And they've got a sign on the roadside where you walk into the glyphs saying that the glyphs are closed. So anyone who wants to come in and connect with the land and spend time in the bushland, straight away they get there and they go, oh, the glyphs are closed, we can't go in. I've been there before when families have pulled up and said, oh, it's closed, we can't go in. So I'm like, well, bullshit, you can go in. You know what I mean? Like, they're really trying to discourage people from going in there. I'm the same as you. I'm not going to encourage someone to do anything illegal, but, like I was there yesterday, so sue me.
$1 billion worth of other development that's been approved. They just got given Pete Island, an entire island in the Hawkesbury River, and I think the government gave them $10 million on top of it to help kick off the development. So yeah, they're not lining up at the local homeless shelter, the upper management.
And once again, they did not fight for Pete's Island. The Guring-gai and the Darkinong, myself being one of them, fought for Pete's Island. They came in when we were on the verge of winning it. We've won it for you. They hadn't done anything. Now that's my white family and my black family, Pete's Island. I'm sorry, only to remind you, everyone's heard of Magenta Shores. Oh, geez, only for the rich people over there. Guess what it's built on? A mass burial site of the Indigenous people from this area. The Land Council.
Grandmother tree is fake, made up, and it's a tourist trap. Don't respond to them, please, and start fighting them. We'll block them, okay? If you do want to do this, remember something, ladies and gentlemen. You've got everyone on side. You've got every avenue backing you up. Closed, fake, and it's rubbish. It's a slightly dodgy site, and yeah, it's a bit steep in places, or maybe occasionally a rock falls down. Man, you just lock it all up. Lock it all up.
The grandmother tree is a fictitious thing used for tourism.
Fictitious thing used for tourism. But Auntie Bev was the person who created this fictitious thing used for tourism. She's the one who called it the grandmother tree. Auntie Bev made up this fictitious thing used for tourism. It is drawing in cult activity. Cults are turning up there and doing culty things.
Hi, I'm from this cult.
It has to be, because how would he know who these people were unless they signed on as a cult? And which cults were they? How many have been there? I can tell you now. We were directed there by Klaus Durner, who actually did a form of technology that we don't fully understand, and he claims that the Carry-on and Gosford area was once an ancient, massive city. The city, and he said, this is not a UFO, this is a whale. Now we think this is a mothership. Now remember, and a lot of people, and Nina knows this, and I'm sure Arnie Connie knows this, around the 1990s, hundreds upon hundreds of people saw at Bambara, which is only about 2 kilometres from the glyphs, UFOs with 5 legs sucking up water.